So basically, the game I'm coming up with is an RPG, and I feel the combat is going to be somewhat similar to Tales of Symphonia, where you kind of go in, you hit a monster, and you kind of go in, you start fighting like in a 3D environment. But what I really want to go into tonight is the my main character, and her name is Rin Beshii. I actually have. Let me see if I can pop it up for you guys. Boom. I had my friend, Sugar Toasted, actually did this art. But this is the main character, Rin Beshii. And she lives somewhere about... It's a science fantasy game, so she lives like 200 years in the future. And they have this control over technology, these nanomachines. And they live on like floating islands. And anyway, with these nanomachines, like, have you ever seen Big Hero 6? Well, think of that, but like... at a molecular level where they are, they can make copies of themselves and build structures out of the ground. Like, that's her power. Like, she can, you know, do this stuff. Well, anyway, in her story, her father is like the leader of one of these islands, and she has like an onboard AI that's pretty much been with her since birth. It kind of evolves as you get older. Like, it starts off like as a nanny thing, but it kind of becomes your friend. But the AI is more than that. Like, it's also like your access to all your online stuff, like your online personality. Like, it lets you log in. It's like your authenticator, really. And so, like, any kind of like imagine the games like 200 years from now that they're crazy and insane and that they can go into all these different worlds. But you know, when she loses her AI, like when she's been hacked, like it kind of cuts it off. And instead of like leaving her with nothing, it gives her this rogue AI, and it's kind of like a British sitcom dad. So he's like, "Oh, it'll be all right. You'll be okay." And she hates him. Like, they don't get along at all. He's real, you know, because she's mad because her other AI is gone. And anyway, she wants to go into like a preservation mode to get her AI back because she feels like she's not really alive anymore. She can't do any of the things she used to do. She can't access any of like the abilities. She feels crippled in this world now that she doesn't have access to her AI. And her father, you know, he pulls some strings and is able to put her in a preservation pod in like the bottom of the island, pretty much the floating island. And I'll go into like a little bit of the worlds. Like the world below is pretty desolate. There might be some civilizations that are like in these dome cities, but by and large, it's a polluted mess on the surface of the earth, and they're just kind of floating around above it in these floating cities. But anyway, she gets preserved to hopefully then to find like an ability to get her her AI companion back, and they said they had to do like some kind of crazy hack to get it back. Like, it's not deleted, it's just locked away beneath some like crazy encryption. And so anyway, she goes under the into this preservation mode, and when she does, calamity kind of unfolds. Like, the hack that got to her was just the beginning, and now it went widespread and kind of like did way worse than just give the people that like the crazy sitcom dad AIs. It gave them, you know, it kind of kills them all, or more or less all these super advanced people, or the mass majority of them. And so basically she's on this floating island for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the island eventually, like, it loses like it's powered by like magnets or something, but it loses altitude over the hundreds of years, like maybe like another 500 years or something, and it finally like crashes into a mountain, and she wakes up and she knows she's confused, and she still has her British dad AI, and the way she breaks out is like she like is trapped in like this coffin thing. I know it shows her like just on a hospital bed, but I like envisioned like her like stuck in like a chamber, and she's like awake in there, and she's like stuck. But she uses these the very limits of like her rage, like tapping into like an adrenaline, but she's able to tap into these machines, the nano dust or whatever, and it causes the thing to like rip off the thing with like these chrome spikes, because she's able to make these chrome spikes with like her rage. She's very limited control of them, and she's kind of like born again into this new world, and that flying mountain the flying island she has, like the mountain she crashes into, below that is like the city of these cyborgs who have lived in this dome city, and now they're worried about the island crashing down on top of them. And then beyond that, you know, like I was kind of telling you about how she controls these nanomachines. Since like they also got hacked, they also kind of went rogue, and they created like this gray goo substance that's kind of like turned everything in the world to like this gray dust. And so out on the outskirts of like these cities where they're protected, it's just like these gray dunes. But inside like the bubble where she's at, or above, it's like the one cyborg city, and on the outskirts like these purple plains with these giant snails. I know I probably sound like a madman right now telling you about my crazy world, my crazy vision, but there's also like these people who have evolved in like the wastelands that are like look kind of like leather daddies, somewhere between leather daddies and the Tusken Raiders, ranged giant snails. Yeah, somewhere between that and Tusken Raiders, where they're kind of like, you know, they're wild and got some crazy religions, and they're both kind of like between those wastelanders and the cyborgs. They're both like kind of vying over this girl because she has access to this technology, even if it's very limited. And as you go through the story, like you unlock like, you know, some friends, and you unlock her abilities. And I feel like it's going to be like kind of like Tales of Symphonia, where you are, you know, it's a 3D game where you're kind of moving around these environments, and then you run into battles, and it kind of like makes like these little 3D stages you can get onto, and you're using like, you know, your abilities and your partner's abilities. I feel like this game's going to take probably 2 years, and I'm going to probably do a Kickstarter at the end of this, probably this summer. I'll probably start one once I have more of the concept art together and more of the story, as I'm also like going into the development myself. But I'm not like worried about not hiring somebody to fill in some of the gaps, because I know like I will struggle with the programming and the animating, but I'm very excited to bring this story to life for you guys. And I have like so many more, so I'm hoping like this is just the first step into showing you guys these worlds that live inside my head. And thank you for hanging out and taking the time to check it out. I appreciate it a lot.